Hello everybody, Reggie Time here again. A quick update on my Darkside challenge. It's not going to be the longest video, it's 20 to 2 in the morning UK time. The player pool isn't very big, but I'm at a loose end, so I just thought I'd do a quick update. Since the last video, I'm not sure exactly how many hands I've logged, maybe 2,000, not sure. But we're doing okay. We're not doing anything special, we're not pulling up any trees. But by the same token, we're getting some solid grinding and we're doing okay. My stats are still around. Similar stats to earlier. We've made, on top of the money we've also made around another €30, maybe slightly more. Maybe getting up, maybe close to €40 in rewards. Making my overall hourly rate currently, because that's probably higher than I expected to be, but my overall hourly rate is chugging along at around €10 an hour, I would guess, which would probably be okay for me, but I would prefer it to be more. But as it's more of a scouting mission than a let's do this long-term mission, I'm fine with it for now. Just show how that looks in terms of my positional stats. For some reason I'm not doing particularly well in the position, but we're not playing too many hands there because we're playing a lot of hands 4 and 5-handed. I think we're doing okay from the blinds. Those numbers could both be a little bit lower in terms of big blinds for 100, but again, small sample size, not overly concerned. And obviously we're doing really well. Middle position, cut up and button with some very healthy win rates. So yeah, overall I'm really pleased with how it's going. And then just so the graph looks, my red line, it was a bit in free fall. I've kind of arrested that slightly. I've never had a positive red line over any kind of discernible sample size. And for me, as long as my red line isn't like more than 10 blinds 100 in negative, I'm fine. I'm usually fine with it, and it is just about 10 blinds 100 negative at the minute. But right at the start there, we were significantly worse than that, so we have definitely arrested that slightly as I've got more used to the games, and I would hope it would be 10 blinds 100 or less. If this sample size was to be 70,000, I would hope that we could still have a red line of a similar sort of shape from that point onwards. Yep, so without further ado, let's play a few hands. Not sure how long the session's going to go for because there's not many players in the pool, so if after 10 or 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I feel like there isn't really that much in the pool to get excited about, I'll probably just not continue with the video. And well, I'll continue with it in terms of put it out there, but I won't continue playing to try and make the video at a huge length. So just talk a little bit about me whilst we're just getting warmed up. I am a microstates coach. I do produce these videos, not just, I produce them because I enjoy producing them. I produce them because I believe people get things from them, but I also produce them mostly to try and generate some coaching business for myself. So if you are watching this with the thought of maybe I need some help with my poker, please do get in touch with me. My rates are very reasonable. I have a decent amount of success with the players that I work with, and yeah, I think you could do a lot worse than just have a session. It's $30 for a session, $35 $30 to 35 depending on how many sessions you take, and it's not the biggest gamble in the world, but something that could really help improve your game. When he checks this Queen King here, when I've got King Queen, I'm going to check back the turn because my hand's pretty invulnerable. I think most of the time I'm not going to get sucked. If I'm ahead, I'm not going to get sucked out on very often. If I'm behind, I think I'm going to get check raised a lot, which is clearly not good for us. And then now I'm just going to bet for value. And I'm not going to bet too big because I expect him to just not have very much very often. So I'm sizing a bet to try and get called by maybe pocket nines, pocket jacks, that type of thing. Don't know enough about Fairy Light yet to make 3-betting A7 suited a good idea there. That is the sort of hand I do like to put in my 3-bet bluffing range, but I need to know that a player's folding a decent amount before I'll do it, and we don't have enough hands on fair, we like to know that, so we're not going to be looking to 3-bet bluffing just yet. Not fold to 3-bet there, but it's just over 2, so it doesn't really mean very much. So he's going to 3-bet and hope he 4-bets. And he's called, which is fine too. And I think we have a very, very easy c-bet here. And if I get raised, I will probably fold. If I get called, I will proceed with some caution. So let's just think about what his calling range was. I'm not really scared by the ace in terms of it's completely king-queen, because we block on king-queen a lot. Nice with the ace-9 there. It's probably too big given his stack size. I'm torn between betting for thin value here from pocket queens, which I think would 4-bet most of the time anyway. Yes, I think it's just too thin to bet, so I'm going to start by checking and then taking it from there. Probably with a view of folding if he bombs it, maybe calling if he makes a weakish bet. I think I have to call once here. I'm probably going to check fold the river. In fact, on that river, I am definitely going to check fold, because I just don't see how many bluffs he can have. That's going to like double barrel there, and yeah, it's interesting there because I think it's a spot where people should bluff quite a lot, because I probably don't have a full house there. So I think he should bet. Interesting that he had something he gave up on, so excuse me, we'll just see if we can find out what it was that our friend checked back there. And there we have it. Oops, it's gone too big, sorry about that. He peeled our c-bet with pocket sixes and then took a stab on the turn, so I think we got the maximum value for our hand there. And yeah, quite pleased with how we played it, quite pleased with the reasonings I had, and quite pleased that, you know, my read stood up that we probably could check call the turn but couldn't check call the number 2. And it turned out that, yeah, that was exactly right against that player. And with the S2 suited here, I'm just going to overlimp because of his stack size. I don't want to raise and then have him shoving me after call, because we're almost certainly be behind in that situation, or not going to be in great shape anyway. But I kind of want to play my hand because it's a suited ace on the button, so if he had, say, €6 or more, I would have isolated, but at €3, no, I think we can just overlimp and not have too much of a problem. So these games aren't looking too great right now, because most of the people with the short stacks are, so most of the people who are with the fishy stats are actually just playing reasonably short stacked, which isn't ideal. Do I want to 3-bet the ace-10? I think I don't, because there's 2 fish to act behind. So I think the value of keeping the fish in and being able to win a bigger pot versus them when we outflop them, or when we flop and they flop slightly worse, is worth more to us than just 3-betting and getting able to fold most of the time. Super dry board here, seems like a good spot to c-bet to me. I'm just going to fold there and miss. And this is the sort of board where I was going to triple barrel. Because dry boards, people just check call with pairs, and then check fold rivers. A decent amount of the time, I think. And again, here with the 10-7 suited dry board, we have plenty of backdoor equity. It's a good spot to start thinking about lining up a triple barrel bluff. And now the kings come, I'm just going to go for it now. My plan was to triple barrel any, so we double barrel and then barrel off on any 8, diamond or card higher than a 10 or higher. So now I'm just going to go bet and hopefully get him off medium pairs. I mean, we might even get him to fold a 9 at some point. I'm not really trying to make him fold a 9. I'm trying to make him fold hands like pocket 8s, pocket 7s, pocket 6s, ace 3, ace 4, things like that. And when he raises like that, we just have a super easy fold and have no problem with the line that we took. Going to complete the queen 10. How often does this player raise on a small blind? 41%, but he folds to re-steal 81%. So I think we have a really easy re-steal situation here. And he 4-bets and we have a really easy fold. So we have a player that looks on the face of it pretty laggy. He's 3-bets 8%, he's 3-betting 16% from the small blind. I'm just going to 4-bet and try and get it in here. If he folds, it's great, we create a little bit of image with the player. And if he wants to 5-bet, get it in with pairs and things, that's fine, it's equally fine. Yeah, he's going to fold quite a lot because he's 3-betting probably a little bit too much. But a lot of these players at these limits that 3-bet too much, they end up getting themselves in a mess because they 3-bet, they 3-bet depolarised too much, so way too much of a depolarised range, and then they just get confused with a lot of their range, end up making some quite poor stack-offs. So I'll be more than happy against that player type to 4-bet ace can get it in there and be fairly confident we're going to get it in pretty good against his range. So we've been 3-bet here. It's really quite a small size. We can't fold to this 3-bet. It's our hand's too playable. His sizing is too small. And I'm probably going to float this flop because we have every backdoor known to man. So we're floating this flop with the intention of betting a lot of turns when he checks, and then just continuing on turns that he bets when we pick up equity, a 9 or a club or a king, something like that. Again, we're going to 3-bet the king queen. We're going to float this bet. And now we've picked up some equity, we're going to try and, I mean, if he checks, we're going to bet. If he bets, I mean, the question I have now, I'm not getting the correct direct odds, but we're not getting too far away from them. The question is, can I call this and then just shove the river if he checks to me and get enough folds? That's the question, and we don't know enough about the guy because we've only got 32 hands, but if we're going to bink the nuts on the river, I guess that becomes irrelevant. But the question there was, how often do we get him to check fold the river? And I'm going to guess now that he's somewhere near the top of his range for bombing that river that size. So it looks like we've got really lucky in this hand. But then I think our reasons for playing it the way we did are absolutely found. They're completely sound, and yeah, it's worked out for us. But I think we've reasoned it out well anyway. On the turn, we weren't necessarily getting the correct odds to call, but if we think we can bluff him on some rivers some of the time, and then we're going to be prepared to do that when he checks, we're going to have the courage to fire the barrel, to fire the bet. Then I think it's fine. I mean, it looks like we just sucked out pretty badly on the guy though. Try and pull the hand up in a minute, see what it was that he turned up with. And where was it at? Sorry about this. Wow, he just had King Jack, which seems like a pretty ambitious call on the river. But if he doesn't make a pair on the river there, our plan would have worked. Because he probably would have checked. Well, you think he would have checked anyway. And then we could have just picked up the pot with a bluff. A lot of the time. So we've been 3-bet here by Fairy Light. We have a very playable hand again. So we're not going to fold. Only this time we don't have anywhere near as much equity, so or backdoor. We have a backdoor. We have now really is a backdoor flush draw. Of course, we have a backdoor straight draw, but it's to a bad end of it, and it's going to be not going to be the hardest thing in the world to put us on a straight when a 4 straight rolls off. Didn't mean to fold the A6 up there. Wasn't concentrating. I'm going to check here versus Fairy Light because he looks like he might just be not a particularly good player. He might have too many check calls going on there, or too many check raises, etc. We picked up a flush draw on the turn. And the question now is, when we're getting nowhere near the odds to call, what's that imply to us? Like, if we back into a flush here, are we likely to win another at least $6 from him? Which is kind of how much we need to make this call okay. And we probably won't, so I'm just going to fold. Not have too much of a problem with it. You'll notice that I am making different sizings. That is very exploitable, but at these stakes I'm not even close to being worried about being exploited. I think we can make it 2.5, 2x or 3x depending on players that are in blinds, depending on our hand strength and our position. Lots of things can go into it. And usually I'm making it smaller when I think I'm going to get 3-bet more often, and I'm making it bigger when I've got a hand that either I don't think I'm going to get 3-bet very often, or I've got a hand that I don't mind getting 3-bet with. That's kind of my logic for doing it, the way I'm doing it right now. I'm going to just call here because a player who's playing 16/5 isn't super likely to squeeze like there. So the only reason 3-betting would be better there, in my opinion, is if the big blind was likely to squeeze a lot. We've got open straight draw here, limp pot, start by betting, and we're going to check call our King 10, and when he checks back, do I lead for value or do I still stay in bluff catch mode? And I think we'll stay in bluff catch mode for the time being, and I think now we have to bet because it's just way too likely we've got the best hand. And he might just call with 2/8 or something like that, 2/7s. Not going to continue betting on this board when I get called in 2 spots. Kind of just done with the hand. So an 80/0's callers here. We've flopped a good shot on the dry board. So is that a good time to see bet to me? When we get called, we don't know enough about this player. We don't know what his range for continuing this board. I mean, it could be as weak as a 3, or he might be very fit or fold. We don't actually know enough about this player, so I'm not going to double barrel. That was kind of a one and done unless we made a straight situation against an unknown. So even though he does look fishy, I'm not going to try and bluff an unknown very often. And again, try board here. Probably going to at least double barrel, maybe triple barrel depending on the run out. If we get raised, we're just going to get out of the pot. complete the king 7 suited, try and play a pot with a 40/2. This guy so far has folded to 67% of timed out anyway. It's folded to 67% of C bets. So when he does check call, I'm going to be less likely to try and bluff him. So I did abandon the plan. The plan was to triple barrel at first, but when the board pairs, I think we're just less likely to get too many folds from whatever called the flop. So yeah, I don't mind abandoning the mission there. Just a little comment on the games of what I've learned so far from my 11 hours playing them. I would say these games are comparable to 13L on 888. I would say they are probably softer than 15L. In fact, definitely softer than 15L on 888 at Snap. Very similar to 13L at Snap. Maybe the regulars are slightly laggier, and maybe not quite so many really loose passive fish. But there's a lot of like really moderate, whatever type players. That yeah, they're not good, they're not bad, they're just whatever. And yeah, they prop the games up quite nicely. And I think I started saying that I thought a 4.8 to 5 big blind win rate, somewhere around that rate, was possible. I haven't seen anything to make me think otherwise. If I couldn't beat this game for at least 5 blinds 100 over a big sample size, I think it will be time for me to consider doing something else as an income proper upper, because they're just not tough games. To some people, they will be tough. If you're playing these games and you find them tough, I don't mean that to sound big-headed or don't want you to feel too negatively about your game. But yeah, there's not enough players in these games that are good enough to stop an experienced player like myself from having a decent win rate. And the only thing that will stop me having a good win rate in these games is my own spew, my own bad play. And we're just going to keep 3-betting the guy with the really high fold to 3-bet. And if we feel he's starting to adjust to us, we'll adjust again, we'll stop. This is the second time he's 4-bet me in this session now. He's 4-bet really quite small there. So I'm almost tempted to just peel. I think if I had a slightly stronger hand, I would probably peel. But it looks like he's playing just like a 4-bet or fold strategy. So that's fine. I think we can continue with our line of just trying to get in his face. We'll do exactly the same again at this table. And if he 4-bets me for the third time, then and we get a chance again. It's the fourth time in a row now that we've 3-bet this guy. So let's just see if he's adjusting at all. So this time he has actually called. So I don't know if that's him making an adjustment or if he just is in his little tiny call slot. Who knows? And my intention is clearly here just to barrel off. I won't fold if he raises. It's going to be bet. If we bet again here, we're going to be 4-16 in the pot. So we 15 something. Just slightly bigger, I think, just so we can make sure our river shove's going to be for much less than pot. I was going to 3-bet, get it in with the 5s against the short stack there. So he's raised. I'm slightly concerned he's somehow got a set, but I'm just going to shove it in his face because he can easily have queens and jacks too, and he does have a set, which is clearly very unfortunate for us. But we've learned something about him, because I didn't think he'd be the type of player with that such a high fold to 3-bet and then just high fold to 3-bet also with a decent 4-bet stat. I was surprised he turned up with a set there. So now I know that he does call three bets with small pocket pairs, it's going to make me a lot more inclined to, because sometimes against people who I think fold to too many four bets, three bets, I think it could be a mistake to three bet them too much. But if he is going to be just set minding me, I'm going to just, obviously we can just, I'm not going to worry too much about him folding too much to my three bets when I've got premium hands that I don't want him to overfold against. So there. Now I know that he is the type of player that does set mine to three bets. I can just three bet him with a very, very depolarized range. And we've fortunately backed into the nuts here, or the second nuts. I think I'm just going to put him in and just hope he's got a flush or a straight or an 8 that he's somehow slow played. And he had the straight, which is nice. Donked into here on this board by a 75-35. I see no reason to do anything other than race here. And hopefully get it in while we still like our equity. And if he's somehow outflopped as well, then good luck to him. Against a 75-35 here. Well, that's a really bad turn card. Do not like that turn card, but I'm still probably going to just shove if he checks. Because I still think we can get some thin value from flush draws, from Jack X. And I don't particularly want to see any bad rivers come off. So this is thin. But it's not too thin against this exact player type. Against a regular, this is too thin. Against a potential fish, I think it's just about okay. But it's definitely a bet that a lot of players wouldn't make. Because they'd argue it's too hard to get called by worse. Against that player type, I don't think it is. I intend to 4-bet call it off if sub-suit, whatever it's called. Super quart. If he does 3-bet me here, my intention will be to go all down on the ground on you, but my intention is to 4-bet and get it in. Now he's made a slightly different raise size this time here. Cut-off range 32%. I'm still going to 3-bet him. Because why not? I'm just going to call him here. I'm going to just call against Fairy Light because we've got a hand that we can call again if we get squeezed. Our hand's strong enough to do that. And then we've hit a pretty miserable flop. We're going to start bluffing against him here. Fold here. Our intention on this here is to only double barrel if an ace or a club hits. So now we know sub whatever it's called does set mine. I think we can maybe fire 2 barrels here to try and get him off. You know, all these like middle pocket pairs that might call 1 street but then struggle to call 2 streets. And because I know he set mines, I'm not going to 3-bet him with the pocket 3s because I think we're just going to be giving him value too often. And we're just going to check forward when we completely brick with the set. This is not a board that I'm going to be c-betting. These kind of boards, these 2-tone middle card boards, I think they're dreadful boards to c-bet with our air. And King Queen is just area. I'd just rather just check and just maybe sometimes just hit an offsuit King or an offsuit Queen and be okay. We're not going to fold here with the King 10 suited. We know we're behind, but that happens enough to make it fine. When they both check to me twice, now I am just going to fire 2 bets. Because I think we can get them off ace high, pocket 2s, pocket 3s, a decent amount here. I think people, if they have a 7 or a 10 or a 9, maybe not a 7, With somebody on a 9 or a 10 would probably probe that turn a decent amount. So when neither player bets, I think we're going to, I think it's fine to go for a delayed C bet then. £56.28 limps into the pot. Let's just make a nice healthy isolation race on a small blind. And we mess around with super enough for the time being that I don't really want to be 3-betting the 6-4 suited against him, because if he's a human player, I'm not sure he is, but if he is a human player, he's going to be getting quite pissed off with us. So 3-betting him with the 6-4 suited doesn't seem like it's going to be much of a good play to me there. We're going to make a thin isolation. Well, not isolation, it's already isolate. We're going to make a thin pre-flop race here with the ace-9. And we're going to go up at least 2 streets to value now we've hit. If we get raised, I will just be folding. Check there. Again, I'm just going to go for another thin value bet of approximately half the pot. Thinking we can get called by gut shots, flush draws. Unfortunately, the flush draw gets there, some 1-pair type hands. And now I think I'm just going to check for the river, unless he makes a stupidly small bet. And he probably just had a jack or a 10, I'm going to guess, if he checks back and loses there, presuming he just has some weaker made hand. But I think going for a third bet there would be just too thin. And I do like thin value. Forever preaching thin value to my students. That was a mistake there with the ace-9 off. I didn't mean to fold it. I do preach thin value a lot to my students, but that would have been too thin. And it's just as I thought, he had a pair and a good shot. So I think we definitely extracted maximum value. I'm just going to call here with my good shot. It's an awful good shot, but when someone min bets into me, I'm just not prepared to fold. He's like 40 cents on the turn. He's got €3 left. It's kind of weak to just fold there, but I mean, I've got 8 high. It's not the end of the world. It's a very small sample size. It's going to be very unreliable, but he looks active enough in steel positions where I think we can 3-bet for 3-bet as a bluff and get enough folds from him to make this fine. And it's called, which isn't a problem if we're going to hit an ace. My plan here is to probably c-bet the flop, fold to a raise, maybe check back the turn. I think it's going to be hard to get called twice by a worse hand. So what would I want to do against his entire range here? I think he's going to be check folding or check calling with better too often, so we're just going to check back, and now maybe we induce some stabs from him. I think it's going to be a chop nearly all the time here, but obviously we're just going to go all in. Probably chop the pot. Who knows, our check back might well have induced a weaker bet from him, might have induced a bluff, might have induced a value bet that's too thin. And we obviously induced some kind of bluff there, which is pretty nice. I would see with this board normally, but against someone with that stack size, we're just going to get check shoved on too often, and I don't really want to get blown off my equity, so I'm happy to check back there. Just going to put this guy in. He donks that board, he's got €6. Now I'm going to go for a delayed c-bet here. Surprised someone who's playing 49-0 with just $5 behind has too much of a donk folding range, but he clearly does. Good for him. So we've got one player who looks like he doesn't c-bet much, one player that looks like he does 3-bet quite a bit. I mean 3-bet, not c-bet, so we're going to go for a exploitable smaller open. We're going to call with the 10s here to try and encourage Kerp to come into the pot too, because we're going to get way more value from Kerp than we are from the player that looks like he's a regular. You see where his border, we kind of have to call. I'm not in love with the situation because he's way less likely to see bet as a bluff into two players, and when he bombs the turn I'm just going to make a really quite a tight fold because I hate paying off, and I think I'm going to be paying off way too often there. So we have two active 3-betters in the blinds, active 3-bet on the button. There's no reason to do anything but min race in this exact spot. And it is a rare treat for me to actually now start to have sample sizes on people, so when I'm making videos I can actually comment on how to try and use stats to exploit our opponents. In previous videos I've just had to try and explain how we try to exploit the tendencies of the player pool in general rather than individual opponents. And yeah, it's kind of nice now to have some stats to deal with. Certainly helped me play better. It's helping me think much more. I've found myself having much clearer thoughts than I was previously. I mean, when we're playing without stats, the water's a lot more muddy. It's a lot harder to have good reasons for doing a lot of the things you're doing. Whereas now we've got playing with stats, I've just got way more solid justifications for making the plays that I'm playing. And I feel I'm playing much better because of stats. I might be too loose on the button against somebody who's playing 86-43. Opening 4 highs, probably too loose. Backdoor flush draw, pretty dry flop, and no equity. Seems like a good time to take a stab. Because when I say no equity, I meant no short-term value, not no equity. And it's obvious we have no equity when we're called, very little equity, but I think the board's dry enough there, and I think he's loose enough for us to get enough folds. As you can see, this video, by the way, is something I haven't touched on. Sorry for the poor aesthetics of having a big gap here with nothing in it. But I found playing 4 tables was just a little too fast for me. I found myself quite often just, it's a bit like when you're a kid and you try and run as fast as you can, and then you get a little bit dizzy, you overbalance, you fall over. That's kind of how I felt it was for me when I was 4 tabling. I think I didn't feel in control of my session enough at the time. I've dropped to 3 tabling now, and it just seems to be a nice pace. It's about 600 hands per hour, which is way more than I'm used to getting when I play regular tables, but it's very manageable, very manageable. Whereas I put the 4th table in, everything seems a little bit too rushed, and I ended up just making too many sloppy mistakes through just not having as much time as I'm used to, or as much time as I like to have, to think situations through properly. So I think 3 tabling is definitely going to be my way to go forward from this. I may try 4 tabling occasionally, when I think there's a lot of bad players in the pool, so I can obviously try and get more hands in against bad players when the pools are good. But typically I expect to just 3 table most of the time. So it doesn't make for good looking videos when we have a big gap and you can just see part of my home. That is part of my hometown, by the way. Beautiful place to live. Live in the northwest of England, just in the South Lake district. Very lucky to live here. Not much happens. It's pretty dull, but it's a beautiful place to live, and I wouldn't swap it for the world. So we have one small blind who looks like he doesn't 3-bet much, a big blind who looks like he may, but we've got like a really small sample size. So we'll make a slightly bigger open this time. Very light. I'm going to make 2.5 because that's a 3-bet a lot. So I'll get to lose less when you just 3-bet. And I don't think he's going to 3-bet me more because I'm making a 10-cent smaller bet. Up to now with this gentleman, there's 100% fold to 3-bet over 4 sample sizes, so I see no reason not to try and 3-bet him. Ace high dry flop, mandatory c-bet in my opinion. Probably not going to continue in any turn. Can I get check called here? I'm just done with that pot really. I'm just betting here to try and make him fold like pocket 5s, pocket 6s, pocket 7s, those type of things. And just hands that have some equity against me. Like if we had like an 8-9 suited or something, like 8-9 of hearts, I kind of like him to fold it. Once I get check called, I'm just done with it unless I hit a 3. I'm not even going to, if he checks the river, I'm not going to try and bluff. Don't think I rep enough. And when he donks, it's just an easy fold. So we've been going for 42 minutes now, and it does feel like quite a slow session, so I'm probably going to can the session now because it is 25 past 2 in the AM. I mean, I'm off work all week, apart from one day, so I have nothing to get up for in the morning, but I'd probably rather just not burn out and come back and play more tomorrow when there's more people in the player pool. There are some fish kicking around here, but not so many. I don't think I'm missing out on like a super game here. Wow, flopping quads. This is going to be a nice way to end the video, so we're just going to sit out at the next big blind and hopefully end the video on winning a big pot with quads. I am going to actually check back here because it's just too hard to get called because the board is just so we just have it crushed. It's hard to have much of a calling range on Jack 6-6. Just going to bet the turn and just hope he somehow has an ace or something he can call with. But most of the time when we flop quads, we just don't win big pots because it's just very hard for anybody to have anything. So it's you flop quads, you're like, wow, good stuff, let's go, and then nothing happens, and you're like, wow, that's really shit. Why can't I win a big pot? You can't win a big pot because no one has anything most of the time when you have quads. Small sample size, but do we have any clue about his open range early position? It looks pretty tight, so we're just going to call with the king queen off. I was tempted to 3-bet against people who open 18% or something there. I could easily 3-bet a hand like king queen off because I think we're going to get enough folds, but against someone who we think maybe opening a little bit tighter, I think folding's too tight, but so if calling's too tight and I don't think we get much value by 3-betting, it just really leaves call as the only option. I was going to 3-bet just to make him fold it, but now I'm going to squeeze and I'm going to hope that we can get the guy with 100% fold to 3-bet to fold, whilst getting called by the guy who's playing 50% of his hands. And unfortunately we get called by both players, which isn't good for us. Another question is, do I want to see bet my gut shot? How often do I think this gentleman's going to bet when I check? Because I can't really check call. And how often do I think he's going to fold if I bet? And I think I'm just going to start just check and just hope he checks through, hope I can somehow hit, but I don't think he's ever going to bluff here with this guy in the pot. If he bets, I think he's just going to have a hand. And now it's going to be really tempting if Gazmore checks. Well, and that's as good as a check. It's going to be really interesting on whether I want to bet or not. And I think I do. And my plan is to shove some rivers. I'm probably going to shove a heart if he calls. I'm obviously going to shove a 10. Might shove an ace. Well, we don't have to consider any of that because he just folded. So it was a fine result, and I think that's probably going to be just about it. For some reason we're not sitting on next big blind there. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've got this far and you've enjoyed what you've heard, please do get in touch with me if you think you'd like some coaching from me. If you don't want some coaching but enjoy the content, that's absolutely fine by me. I hope you subscribe to the channel, and I hope you get a lot from it going forward. We'll play this hand out and then we'll just call it a day. Yep, so that's me done. Thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, take care and goodbye.